And one of the questions I was to ask him is, how did you wake up? What helped you to wake up? Because people his age don't normally wake up. That's rare, right?
Yes,
He's in his
it is.
early 80s. He's in his early 80s. It's rare for people in their 80s who's given, 50 years of their life to wake up from that religion. But I also want him to share his story because I want him, if he shares his story, he doesn't know how many other people, how many older people he could affect. Because I'm sure there's plenty of people that have doubts, that are having doubts, that have questions. They want to do their research, they want to leave, but they're scared because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know the other side of the organization. So if they see someone like my grandfather who's done his research, and you know what? It's been 4 years now, and he said, you know what? Since he's done his research and he woke up, he feels so much happy. He feels so much better. He has more time on his hands. He's not wasting time standing in front of a damn cart preaching.
Yes,
Well,
right.
sorry, preaching. He's not wasting his time going to the meetings, hearing the same talks over and over. Like he's actually enjoying his life right now.
Uh,
So his story is important. I want him to share his story.
I'm changing my life and I won't look back ever again.
Hi, Jeron. Thanks for coming on
Eh,
again.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, I saw your video on your channel talking about your grandfather waking up. So we're going
Yes.
to talk about that today. But before that, why don't you tell the audience just a reminder if they haven't seen my interview with you, and I'll link that interview in the link below. But how long you've been out of the Jehovah's Witness cult?
Officially, it's been a little over a year now. Officially, but I've been awake for a few years now. About
Okay.
3 years, give or take. Yeah.
Okay. And since you've been out, uh, does your family talk to you?
Nah, of course not. Completely shunned. Completely shunned. I was shunned before I officially came out because now I expressed my concerns about the religion to my family. The minute I did that, it was a done deal. I got shunned right away by my two brothers and my mom. So no, they
Wow.
just stopped talking to me. Yeah. So it's been over a year since I heard from my family. About a year and a half. Yeah, about a year and a half. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. And probably most of your friends that were in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was shunned by my friends also. So let's get into this letter about my
Yes.
grandfather. Yeah. So I never thought, right? I never thought any one of my family, I would hear from any one of my family members ever again. Like I had that in me, in my mind, for the longest, right? Since I left the org. I came to realize. I said, you know what? Sad to say, my family, they're just gonna die believing in a pipe dream. It is what it is. You can't wake up anybody. I thought that I was gonna be able to wake up my family by sharing them facts and helping them to do their own research, encourage them to do their own research so they could be open minded and see things from a different perspective other than a watchtower, right? That
Yeah.
didn't happen. As we know, that doesn't happen. That doesn't work. When you try to help people to wake up, you can't wake anybody up, right? So I said to myself, I said, you know what? I just gotta accept the fact that I'm never gonna hear from my family ever again. Life goes on. I now have friends that have become my family. I consider you one of my good friends. I consider you somewhat like family.
Yeah.
Um, of course. So I got a letter in the mail last week, right?
Like the
And I
snail
saw,
mail. The snail mail?
yeah, in the mail, the actual mail, right? It was a
Mhm.
handwritten letter, right? So I looked at the name. It was my grandfather's name, and the address too. The address was from New York City. I said, hold on, is this my grandfather? Right. So I was a little hesitant to open up the letter because I was like, you know what? He's probably just gonna just start cussing me out. Or you're embarrassing the family. You're a known apostle. You're putting stuff on social media. So initially, I was gonna rip it up without even opening it. Right? I was gonna just rip it up. He's gonna just call me and label me apostate, whatever. But I'm happy. Something told me, Jeron, just read it. You never know. He could have been dying. He could say, hey, Jeron, I have cancer. I said, I don't want to have any regrets, not knowing. So I said, Jeron, just open a letter and just read it. Right? So I opened it and I was shocked. I should have brought it with me, but I opened it, right? I just thought about it. But anyway, but yeah, so I opened a letter and he said, listen, son, grandson, he said, you're my first grandson. He said, I love you no matter what. He said, I'm not going to have any religion tell me I can't speak to my family. And then he said in the letter, he said, I've been watching your videos on YouTube. And he said, I love your ideas. And I'm reading the letter like, Like my mouth is wide open, drop down to the ground. I'm like, am I actually am I reading this? Is this for real? Am I being punked? Right? And so for my grandfather, and he included his number. He gave me his number, and he said, "Give me a call sometime. So I can't wait to see you again." So it took me a day or two to process that letter. Right?
Yeah, sure.
If anybody was waking up in my family, I would have never thought in a million years it would be my grandfather, the person who's been in it the longest. He's been in it the longest, right? So it took me a day or two to process what I just read. And I finally called him the third day, right? I called him 3 days after I opened the letter because I had so many questions. And one of the questions I was asking him is, how did you wake up? What helped you to wake up? Because people his age don't normally wake up. That's rare, right?
Yes,
He's in his
it is.
early 80s. He's in his early 80s. It's rare for people in their 80s who's given 50 years of their life to wake up from that religion.
Yeah, you said he's in his 80s?
Hmm. So he
Wow.
wasn't born in. I thought he was born and raised in. He wasn't. He wasn't. He was introduced to it later on in life. My father was born in though. My father was born in, which is his son. But um, yeah, he wasn't born in. So I finally called him. Right, I called my grandfather, and I said, he picked up the phone like, hey, who's this? I said, hey, Grandpa. He's like, oh, Jeron, what's going on? I said, Grandpa, it's so good to hear from you. And it's sad. I haven't seen him in at least. I'm trying to think. The last time I saw him, it was at least 10 years ago, maybe longer than that.
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
longer than that. Yeah, the last time I saw him in person was a long time ago. Um, and yeah, so me and him was on the phone for about a good 30, 40 minutes, and he goes on to say, I said, Grandpa, I have to ask you, what woke you up? What woke you up from this religion, from this cult? He said, COVID. He said, I did my research during COVID. He said, I finally had time to myself. The world stopped. No more preaching, no more meetings. I had time to myself. And he was having doubts before that. He was having doubts. Like he saw the hypocrisy. He saw how elders were moving, how people were acting funny, shady. So he saw how things were going in the organization, and he was already having doubts. But when COVID happened, that gave him time to explore those doubts and do research for the first time.
Wow. That's true for a lot of people. They had a mass exodus during COVID.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. Literally, I know my grandfather was one of them. So I knew last last year when I got reinstated, I briefly spoke to my mom, right? And she did tell me. I remember her telling me that my grandfather was inactive. She did say that, right? But I thought he was inactive, but just maybe like just pulling away from the organization, but he still believed because you could be inactive and still believe it's the truth.
Correct.
I did. Yeah, when I was inactive, I always thought it was the truth, right? But so I never thought I knew he was inactive, but I thought he was still a believer, right? So he told me he woke up during COVID. He's done his research, and he tells me people they've been trying to, like elders and witnesses in his congregation for the last few years. They've been trying to like reach out to him, but he knows it's not real love. He knows it's not real love. They really don't care about him. They're not concerned about his well being. They just want him to come back to the meeting.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Wow. So, so you said at some point you'll probably meet up with them, you said?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely planning on seeing him sooner than later. Sooner than later. I did tell him that I plan on going to New York every year because I'm from there, so I want to visit my relatives. It's like flies flying around me and stuff. But yeah. So I did tell him I plan on going to New York every year. So next time I'm in New York, I'm definitely gonna stop by and see him.
And oh my gosh, that'll be so exciting for both of you.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. Just
Now,
to have like
I remember in your video too, you mentioned how he was so proud that all the traveling you're doing, and he
yeah.
feels he wish he had done more of that. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So he was saying, "Oh, because he follows me on social media, and he's saying, oh, I see you. You've been to Korea, you've been to Australia, you've been to Tokyo, you traveled the world." He said, "I always wanted to travel the world." He said this. He's like, "I always wanted to travel the world, but instead I had kids." And I told him, I said, "Grandpa, so listen, as long as your heart is still breathing and you have air in your lungs, it is never too late."
That's
I know,
right.
I know he's. exactly. I know he's up there in age, but as long as you're breathing, like don't limit yourself. You can still do it. I know it won't be easy traveling at an older age, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And he started laughing. He said, "You know what? You're wise. You're right. You're right."
Oh, I
And
like that. Good.
yeah, yeah, because I want him. You know what? Because when we leave this cult, right, and he's given way more time than I did in his cult. But when you leave, sometimes we leave with those same tendencies. Like we still have the mindset of a witness, right? And we limit ourselves. Witnesses, they limit themselves. There's a lot of things that they are capable of doing, but they don't know that they can do it until they see other ex witnesses. They see other people who was in a cult living the lives that they want to live.
Yeah,
And
well,
it's like,
you're supposed to keep a simple life.
exactly, yeah, yeah. Wait on the paradise. Have a simple life, and it's like, now you also want to enjoy your life. You could live a simple life, right? But you also want to enjoy your life. And I can honestly, I speak for 90% of Jehovah's Witnesses when I say that as a witness, you don't enjoy your life. You're not really enjoying life. You're
Yeah,
just waiting to die. You're waiting to die. I hate to say it like that, but you're not. You at the end of the day, you're gonna have so many regrets being a witness because you're not doing jack shit with your life.
that's
You
right.
know?
And they're just letting the world pass by. And I remember even my mom's always saying, "Well, this isn't the real life. This isn't the real life." And there's a she lived a decent life, but I mean, there's so much more she could have accomplished or she could have saw and done. And so this is the real life. That's where they're delusional.
Yeah. This is the only guarantee life that we have.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we don't know what happens to our energy when we pass on, um but yeah, we know that we do definitely have this one life and we should cherish it. And so does your grandfather, did he say he has like regrets of
Yeah, yeah. Obviously he regretted giving 50 years once he did his research and he was like, "Oh, this is a scam. This is all fake." He regretted. He was like, "I gave 50 years to this." And I could hear the hurt in his voice. He's like, "Oh, I gave 50 years," and this is why I've been saying this since I made my very first video with Justin, XJW Diaries with Justin, right?
yes, I saw that.
A year,
Yes.
yeah. So a year and a half ago, me and him made that video, right? And I said in that video, I said, when I die, I'm big on living with no regrets.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that will leave this planet, and they're gonna be like, "Shit, I wish I did this. I wish I did that." I will never say that because I know that death is real. Death is gonna approach all of us at one time, at one time or another. And before that time happens, before I leave this planet, I want to be able to look back on my life and say I did everything. I did everything under the sun that I wanted to do, and I'm not gonna live with no regrets, right? So,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but my grandfather, going back to him, he was saying how, yeah, he said, "Hey, I gave 50 years," and I said, "Grandfather, don't be hard on yourself." I said it would have been extremely hard to wake up before the internet. A lot of people woke up after the internet. It would have been hard to wake up in the 80's and 90's. The internet just came out in the early 2000s.
That's right.
Yeah, don't be hard on yourself. I told him, I said, I always thought it was the truth. Before I woke up, before I did my research, it sounds appealing. People living forever on a paradise earth. It does sound appealing. Seeing your deceased loved ones once again, that sounds appealing. It does. It could catch anybody, right? But I was trying to reassure him that you gave 50 years, but you didn't know any better. The internet wasn't out back then. It's hard. It would have been. And now I'm thinking about all the apostates that woke up before the internet.
Yeah, right.
That would have been hard. That
Very
would have been
hard.
hard. You know. So
Yeah.
I was trying to reassure him that yeah, you gave 50 years, but it could be worse because there's so many people that woke up. I mean, sorry, there's so many people who died, right? They passed away, and they never woke up. They died believing that they're gonna wake up in a paradise.
Right.
So at least when my grandfather passes away, when I pass away, when you pass away, when all us ex witnesses, all of us who have woken up, when we pass away, we're gonna pass away. We're gonna die being our true, authentic selves and living our true lives. That's priceless.
That is
You know?
priceless.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And
so sorry.
no, go ahead.
So I just want to say real quick. I was trying to tell my grandfather, it's better to wake up. later than never. So
Yes.
yeah, he gave 50 years. Yeah, he's up there in age, but he's still alive. He's still breathing. Everything he want to do, he could still do it in moderation, of course. I wouldn't tell him to go skydiving, you know, you know. But
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
he could still live his life. Yeah.
as they say, it's better to have one day of freedom of mind than none.
And then a lifetime of entrapment, right? Yep.
Yeah, than a lifetime of a lie. At least he's free now and free to think for himself and free to explore, and it really brings a lot of happiness.
Oh, it does. I just can't wait to go out there and be around him, give him a hug, and just have a drink with him or a good meal. Just talk with him. You know what's funny? The other day when I was on the phone with him, that was the first time in my life I heard him curse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he cussed on the phone. I was like, wow, I like this. I was like, wow, he's being his true self. No filters, no holding back. Just a grandson and his a grandfather talk and have a real chat, a real conversation. I love that.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
can't wait to have that in person. Yeah.
that is so great.
And you know what?
Uh,
I'm still like to this day, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it because for the longest, I was convincing myself that none of my family members will wake up and this is it. I just have to accept I'm not gonna hear from them ever again. So when you have that in your mind and then the opposite happens, right? It gives me hope for my immediate family, for my mom, my two brothers, and it should give you hope too. I know you told me your daughters are still out there. They're
right.
still, yeah. So it should give everybody hope. Everybody who has family members, this should give everybody hope. If my grandfather in his 80s could wake up, he gave 50 years. Anything really is possible. Anything
Yes.
really is possible.
Yeah, that's really a happy story, and it gives people hope. And also, if there's any witnesses that are still in it watching this video, we encourage you to please give yourself permission to go do your research. Go on the
Yep.
internet, give yourself permission, because the truth is the truth. If the truth shines bright, and you can't lie about it. So
Yep.
that's my biggest hope is for my family will give themselves permission to do their research.
Exactly. That's it. And this is my grandfather and his. So he was technically in his late 70s when he woke up, right? Because he's in the early 80s now. He woke up 4 years ago during COVID, but he allowed himself. He saw that things was not going. What's the word I want to use? Um, he- things. There wasn't no true agape love. You know how they say there's agape love. We all love each other. He saw the hypocrisy. He saw that, like I said, he was already having doubts before he did his research. But when you do your research, it's done. It's done. We both know, we all know. Once you do, and this is why the governing body leaders, that's why they have to not just scare, not just scare, but they have to terrify their members from looking online because that is their greatest downfall. The internet is the watchtowers. That's going to be their downfall.
Absolutely.
For real. I don't see this organization lasting another 15, 20 years, not even a decade. The way that the internet is helping people wake up on a regular basis.
Yeah. When you
Yeah.
find when you do your research, you see it's clear as day that it's a man-made organization. It's not God's, or only, God's organization on earth working through these imperfect men. It's definitely a
Yeah.
man-made organization, just like the Mormons and just like all the other, religions.
Religions. Yeah.
So many religions that popped up, in the 1800s. And it's really weird. And they all started in like the same area, like Pennsylvania. And yeah, it's fascinating when you start doing the research.
Yeah. And they're all affiliated with the Freemasons. That's one thing they all have in common. They're
Yes.
all affiliated with Freemasons. But I
Yeah.
lost my
And
train of
then
thought.
Charles Hayes Russell was, into how do they say it? Pyramidology or
Oh yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Yeah. But
oh
you
my
won't see
God.
that on JW.org, right?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it gets really crazy when you do the research on the how it all even came about. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for sharing that story
Of
about your
course.
grandfather, and keep us posted on how everything goes, and let us know when you finally get to meet him
Oh,
and take pictures.
I definitely will. I'm gonna try to do a video if he's up for it. I hope he is. But I'm gonna try to do a video with. I'm trying to interview him while
Oh,
the
that
next
would
time
be
I see him.
great.
Yeah, if he's up
Mhm.
for it, he may not be up for it to be out in the, because he told me he was trying to, he wanted to fade away. But
Yeah,
I respect that. I do respect that. He don't want to, But I also want him to share his story because I want him. If he shares his story, he doesn't know how many other people, how many older people he could affect. Because I'm sure there's plenty of people that have doubts, that are having doubts, that have questions. They want to do their research, they want to leave, but they're scared because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know the other side of the organization. So if they see someone like my grandfather who's done his research, and you know what, it's been 4 years now, and he said, you know what, since he's done his research and he woke up, he feels so much happy. He feels so much better. He has more time on his hands. He's not wasting time standing in front of a damn cart preaching.
that's
Well,
right.
sorry, preaching. He's not wasting his time going to the meetings, hearing the same talks over and over. Like, he's actually enjoying his life right now.
Uh,
So his story is important. I want him to share his story. I want him to share his story, but I can't force him. So we'll see what
no, yeah,
happens. Yeah, we'll see what
yeah,
happens.
and that's a good point though that you make. The time that you gain when you finally leave the cult, the time that you gain back is so priceless. It's hard. I get so irritated thinking how much time I wasted sitting my ass in the seat at the Kingdom Hall, listening to those boring talks, hearing the same damn thing, and then all those hours in the ministry, that finding nobody that wants to really listen, and
Right? Exactly.
even and driving to and from the Kingdom Hall. I mean, it's just all those hours upon hours
That's
that
money.
you lose
Yeah.
it. You can't get that time back.
Yep. You're right.
So
You can't get that. See, and
yeah,
that's for all of. Before we end this video, let me just put this out there. See, this is why I stress people don't. This is why I stress about using your time wisely, living your life, being your true authentic self, telling people you love them, traveling the world. This is why I stress the fact that people have to live their lives now, because when you're up there in age, right? And you can have all the regrets you want. You could have, wish you could take back things, do things differently, all you want. But there's nothing you could do to get that time back. And no one should have to live with that regret, And that's the thing I don't understand with witnesses. It's like they would rather live with that regret later on than to do their research now and wake up. That makes no sense to me. I don't comprehend that. And if I tell you, right, just like I told my family last year, my mom, my two brothers, I encourage them to do the research. No, we have the truth. We know this is the truth. With no sufficient proof. They have no proof. It's like, no, you don't know you have the truth. You believe you have the truth. Just like the Mormons believe that they have the true religion. Just like the Latter-day Saints, the Baptists, the Buddhists, all these people in other religions, they all believe that they have the truth. But no one can actually prove that they have the so-called truth, the true religion.
that's right. And if you're only studying one side of the subject, only one side, and you're not looking at all the evidence,
Yeah.
how are you ever going to know the real truth?
You won't.
You have to look at all the evidence.
You have to. Yeah, you have to be open-minded. I'm thankful that my grandfather was. I'm thankful he allowed himself. He allowed himself to do some research, to do his research. And like I said, once you do your research, it's a done deal.
Yeah. Well, we're very proud of you, grandfather. I hope he sees this.
Thank you. Yeah.
We're very proud of him. Yeah. Okay. Well, anything else you want to add?
Oh, that's it.
Okay. Well, we will see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.
I'm changing my life and I won't look back ever again.